Do you ever feel like the toughest person you're competing with is yourself? Whether it's striving for perfection, battling self-doubt, or just trying to keep everything together, the hardest fight isn't with anyone else, it's with the person in the mirror. And today we're diving deep into real competition. So I want to talk about you versus you and how to manage it to thrive at work and beyond. We often think of the competition as something external. Beating that co-worker for a promotion, hitting that sales target faster than anyone else, or impressing your manager. But the reality is, our biggest competitor is internal. It's the voice inside of your head telling you that you're not good enough, the impossible expectations that you've set for yourself, and the need to prove your worth. Sometimes to others, sometimes to yourself. And when this inner competition is healthy, it pushes you to grow. But when it's left unchecked, it can lead to stress, to burnout, and feeling like no matter how much you achieve, it's never enough. So how do you battle this and come out on top? Let me share a story with you that might help you understand. I've always been driven, maybe too driven at times, admittedly. In my career, I've worked at prestige car dealerships, I've managed sales teams for leading automotive brands, and now as a #1 account manager for a property portal. So being a top performer has always been my identity, I guess. But it hasn't been without its struggles. So early in my career, I tried mastering spin selling, which for those of you that don't know, is a sales style or technique. It was a completely different approach from what I've been used to, and I'll be honest, it was brutal. I doubted myself every step of the way. I overthought every conversation and felt this overwhelming frustration that I wasn't immediately great at it, and honestly, I was just never going to get it. For someone who thrived on being the best, starting from scratch felt like I was losing a battle with myself internally. This wasn't new. So growing up, I felt like I was competing for attention constantly. My dad was not easily impressed. No matter what I achieved, it felt like it just wasn't enough. If I won a silver medal at the Olympics, he'd say, well, should have been a gold. My granddad, on the other hand, was incredibly supportive. But again, he always said, give it 100% or just don't bother. That shaped me and that changed the way I grew. So I learned to give it my all, but I also carried this constant pressure to prove myself. It took me a long time to realize this. The competition wasn't with anyone else. It was inside of me, and the version of me that felt like I wasn't enough, felt like I had to be perfect to matter. Once I shifted my focus to becoming a little bit better than I was yesterday, just a bit better each day, everything changed for me. So we need some strategies to win the battle with yourself. #1 is self-awareness. It's the foundation. You can't manage what you don't understand, and start by identifying what drives your inner competition. So is it a fear of failure? Is it perfectionism? A desire for validation maybe? Ask yourself reflective questions. What situations trigger your self-doubt? When do you feel most anxious about your performance? Understanding these patterns helps you recognize when you're being too hard on yourself and gives you a chance to pause and reframe your perspective. One great way to do this is to journal your thoughts at the end of the day. For example, write down moments when you felt pressure or frustration, and over time, you'll see trends appearing. You can start addressing them directly from that point onwards. #2 is to set manageable goals. A big part of inner competition is overwhelm. We set massive goals, like launching a huge project, hitting an ambitious deadline, targeting that promotion, or simply aiming for perfection. And then we beat ourselves up when we fall short. You've got to admit you've done it. Instead, ask yourself, what's within my control right now? Break your goals into smaller, actionable steps, bite-sized if you will. For example, if you're aiming to complete a big presentation, just start by outlining the key points today. Design the slides tomorrow and rehearse it the next day. By focusing on what you can do, rather than worrying about what you can't control, you remove that unnecessary pressure, and this helps you to manage perfectionism because it reminds you that progress, not a flawless outcome, is the ultimate goal. #3 would be to celebrate progress, not perfection. So one of the biggest things I've learned is that perfection's an illusion. No one ever gets it completely right the first time, or even the 10th time, probably not even the 100th time. Progress, no matter what, or how small, is what truly counts. But what does acknowledging wins look like? It can be as simple as writing down one thing you've accomplished each day. For me today, that's doing this video. Did you see a tricky email? Did you tick one item off your to-do list? These small wins are the building blocks of greater and bigger successes. You can even create a win jar, which is something I've seen people do and I really love the idea of. So you write each accomplishment, no matter how small, on a slip of paper, put it in a jar, and then on tough days, pull one out to remind yourself how far you've come, how amazing you've done. This simple habit shifts your mindset from I'm not doing enough to I'm moving forward every day. Number 4 is adopt a growth mindset. This idea, popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck in her book Mindset, is life-changing. A growth mindset means seeing challenges as opportunities to learn, not as proof of your limits. For example, if you mess up during a presentation, a fixed mindset would say, I'm terrible at public speaking. But a growth mindset reframes it as, I didn't do well today, but I can improve if I practice more. I've had to embrace this mindset many times in my career. When learning spin selling felt impossible, I reminded myself that it was a skill I could develop with time and effort. And eventually, guess what? I've mastered it. Think of failure not as a final result, but as feedback to yourself. So each misstep is a step closer to mastering something new. Shifting from that fixed mindset where failure defines you to a growth mindset where failure teaches you is one of the most powerful ways to win battles within yourself. Number 5 is schedule self-care. You can't pour from an empty cup, yet so many of us try. Self-care isn't selfish, it's absolutely essential. I harp on about this all the time. Self-care doesn't have to be elaborate though. It's not just about like spa days or vacations. It's about the small, consistent practices that recharge your mental and emotional energy. For instance, taking a 10-minute walk during your lunch break, listening to your favorite music or podcast while cooking, and saying no to commitments that don't align with your priorities. For me, this is climbing and gaming, and I think they're my biggest ways of self-care. The key is to make the self-care a non-negotiable part of your routine. Treat it like a meeting with yourself. Block it out in your calendar. One that you wouldn't dare cancel. Number 6 is track and reflect. So keeping track of your progress isn't just motivating, it's essential for self-growth. Start by creating a simple checklist of using a journal to log your daily actions. At the end of the week, review it. What did you accomplish? What challenges did you face? How did you handle them? Reflection is powerful because it gives you a perspective. Maybe you're further along than you actually thought. Or maybe you learned a lesson from a setback. Either way, it helps you stay connected to your journey. It'll help you check if you're still on for the goals that you set at the start. And don't forget to celebrate the patterns of progress. If you see you're stuck in a habit, like exercising 3 times a week or finishing a task on time, acknowledge that. Recognizing these patterns reinforces positive behaviors and it keeps you motivated, which is the most important part of all of this. Another piece of advice is to stop comparing yourself to others. It's so easy to look at your colleagues, your friends, even strangers online. Social media is everywhere, and think, why am I not there yet? But here's the truth. They're running a completely different race. Focus on your own journey. The only person you need to outdo is the version of you from yesterday. Every day you get a little better, you're winning the real competition. Managing yourself is one of the hardest battles you'll ever face. It requires self-awareness, it requires patience, and it requires a willingness to let go of the need to be perfect. But when you do, you unlock your full potential. So what's one step that you're going to take to win the battle with yourself today? Let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear everyone else's thoughts. If you find this video helpful, please give the video a like and subscribe for more practical mental health insights. And remember though, it's not about being better than anybody else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. That's all that ever matters. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.